Welcome to Betting Weekly Premier League Show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Nigel, how are you after FA Cup third round weekend? Done and dusted once again. I'm not quite sure where this fits in with the Premier League these days because obviously there's no replays. Does it make it easier in terms of schedules, do you think, for Premier League? It's not going to be those fixture pile-ups. Is it a good thing that we don't have replays? What did you think? And did you have a profitable weekend?
I didn't even know the FA Cup was on. I've been too busy watching the Australian Open tennis. I've been up all night watching tennis action. And I bet the winner of the golf last night, 70-1. So Nick Taylor, that was good. That was incredible. Eagled the last. It was an amazing scene. So
lovely.
The FA Cup was well down on my radar and on my.
I saw you tip United to qualify though. Was that in play?
That was a big price for me. I know I was lucky. Really, well, I wasn't really lucky, but it shows you what a good bet it was. They still done it with 10 men. They were much better side. We'll come on to them in a minute. But I think the FA, judging by my betting weekend, the FA Cup played a very, very low part of it. So I can imagine from the scheduling for the Premier League sides, the FA Cup plays a very, very low part indeed until they get to the business end of the competition. I think a lot of the teams obviously rested a lot of players. A lot of teams that have the luxury of resting players and still qualified. I think the only time the FA Cup becomes relevant in the Premier League is when they get to, say, the quarter-final stage onward. And then they have to decide whether they want to win the competition and put a strong side out, or they still think they want to stick with the team that's got them that far. So early part of the leagues, I mean, and the top sides, I mean, they're all giving very, very winnable matches. You know, every one of them obliged fairly comfortably, apart from Tottenham, which is what we'd expect from Tottenham. But it was just I don't think it would really be on anyone's game plan, and I think the only time we have to worry about that is in the tournament progresses to the business end.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford got knocked out. That was a bit of a shock, Jack. But by and large, you know, the favourites were winning. Spurs needed extra time. I don't know what you made of it. As far as we're all concerned, I think our 6 futures picks are all through. Any takeaways from the FA Cup when it comes to sort of moving on to Premier League midweek slate?
Well, I'll tell you what, the reason me and Nigel aren't too bothered about the FA Cup is our side shipped 10 goals between them and got binned out at the first hurdle for us. But I tell you what, it does stand out and show is the absolute chasm between Premier League sides and Championship and lower, really, to be fair. Let's say QPR lost 6-2 to Leicester. Southampton beat Swansea 3-0. My team lost to Brighton, who couldn't buy a win, 4-0 at home. And it just shows you the massive difference there is there. But I think that, as Nigel said, there's heavy rotation now. The lack of replays will be a little bit of a bonus for teams, but there's not really too many tests there. I say Brentford were the only one that kind of slipped up that you'd expected to have got the job done. And we move on. So, my only one bet in it was we put in the newsletter was, of course, I went against my side and it proved pretty obvious, really, to be fair. So that was good.
The boys had a profitable match week the previous weekend of Premier League action. And we've got a reminder of the boys' profit and loss on screen for you. So, as a whole, the show is in profit. You can tag us in, of course, at Because We Win. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got the Betting Weekly newsletter as well, which pops into your inbox every single week, bettingweeklystudios.com. And that is free, of course, to subscribe to, as it is for the YouTube channel. We did nudge above 7,000 followers, Nigel. Subscribers on YouTube, didn't we, over the course of the last few days. So next
I'm very happy with that.
What were you suggesting? Next up, 10,000 and then the world?
And then what?
I don't know. The world? Then 10,001?
Well, I mean, that 10,000 is a big number. Obviously, that's the big number that we want to get to. So 10,000 is the big number. So hopefully we can get to that fairly soon. But it's an amazing achievement. I mean, when you consider that the channel's only been going for 18 months and to get, I think this time last year we had 1,200 subscribers. So 5,800 in a 12-month package, in a 12-month period is incredible when you consider that there's people who've been doing content like this for 13 years and haven't got that many in 13 years as we've done in a month. So in a year. It just shows you how good we've done and how well that people have gained. And what we've done is we formed a community and we love you talking about it, giving you your bets. We respond to every comment on the comments box. We like having a chat with you and long may it continue. That's what we want. We don't want to be ignoring you. We want everyone to comment. So people seem to enjoy it. We love doing these shows and hopefully we can keep doing them for longer. And the more subscribers we get, the longevity it has.
Here. Let's kick off the midweek preview, shall we? Tuesday, 2:30 Eastern. West Ham against Fulham. London derby. Nigel's got his hot dog. Big price play of the midweek slate coming your way. Fulham are the favourites for this one away at West Ham. But obviously, Nigel, West Ham have got Graham Potter now in charge. They went ahead against Villa before losing in the Cup. Will we see a little bit of a bounce? We've talked about it all season regarding coaches. But West Ham outside against Fulham, it doesn't maybe sit right. How are we tackling this one for your big price play of the midweek slate?
Well, it doesn't really sit right, really, when you think about it. If not West Ham, the underdogs here. I think the West Ham faithful will be very happy to get behind Potter. I don't think they really took to Lopetegui. I think he was under pressure from day one. He spent a lot of money on signings that haven't really gelled, and it's up to Potter whether he comes in. I mean, I don't know if Harry Potter can get him out, get him a match here, but I think it's going to be quite difficult for them in the opening match. I've said to you before so many times about teams, the manager comes in, there is a sort of a market move for the new manager, but it doesn't necessarily make to profit. So I would expect West Ham to be bet here, but I don't necessarily think you will be collecting if you bet West Ham. Saying that, though, of the two options, plus 140 or plus 190, you would probably have to take West Ham on the draw no bet or something like that, because I think the draw here is a huge, huge runner. I thought West Ham played really well against Aston Villa. I thought they played well, and I thought they were slightly unlucky. Potter's first home match, first time in a club, the support will definitely be behind him. And if you look at you look at West Ham, I mean, they've lost 5 times at home in the Premier League, but they've lost to Villa, which is a decent City, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So when they play the top sides at home, they get beat, and they get battered. They don't just get beat; they get absolutely battered. And that's probably the problem that Lopetegui had, that those defeats were so heavy defeats and so memorable defeats and so embarrassing defeats. That's what cost him his job. But against teams in or around them, at teams at the bottom of the table, they tend to win at home, West Ham. It's just the better sides that they really do get beaten by and get beaten by well. Earlier this season, it was a 1-1 draw. Fulham went there last year and won. But if you look at Fulham now, they're unbeaten in 9. They won in the FA Cup at the weekend. But 6 draws in their last 8 Premier League matches. They've become the draw specialists in recent weeks. And that is where my hot dog is in this match, is on the draw. It's at plus 250, the draw here on the money line. West Ham against Fulham. The draw is the biggest price of all 3 outcomes. Fulham, as I say, draw specialists at the moment. The match earlier in the season was a draw. I think Fulham have been the better team on the season, but they have definitely been the better team on the season. West Ham have probably got a lot more improvement in them. You will probably see them improve with the new manager, but it's going to take them time. I don't think West Ham will get beat in Potter's first match in charge. I can imagine the West Ham faithful massively getting behind their man, but I don't think at this moment in time they're good enough to beat Fulham. I do think the plus 190 compared to plus 140, I think it should be more or less close to a 50-50 call. And if that is a 50-50 call, then that enhances the price of the draw and makes the draw much more likely. So for me, my hot dog this week is on the draw in West Ham v Fulham. It cashed earlier in the season in a 1-1 draw, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it cash again, plus 250.
Just a lean for you in this one, Jack, but same sort of thought process here.
Exactly the same, yeah. That's my bet as well in this one. It's a tie. So it's quite unusual for us both to land on that particular outcome, isn't it? So Nigel's already said it. Fulham, the draw specialist, drawn 5 of the last 6 in the Premier League. There's not many goals in their away games, which does tend to mean obviously it's going to be very tight and therefore lend itself to the draw. They've only scored 12 away. They've only conceded 10. And for West Ham, yeah, definitely the crowd are going to buy into what Potter is expected to bring to them. But the injuries to Fulkrug, who's out for weeks now, Somerville possibly a doubt as well, is going to lend to the fact they're going to probably struggle in those forward areas. Potter's unbeaten in his 4 league debuts as a manager. Ostersund, Swansea, Brighton and Chelsea, 2 wins, 2 draws, and it was 1-1 in the reverse. So, yeah, I've landed on the draw as well.
Draw then. We like in that London derby, West Ham against Fulham. Also Tuesday, 2:30, Chelsea against Bournemouth here. Chelsea minus 175, Bournemouth 4-1. Both through in cup clashes at the weekend to the 4th round. Nigel, we've been on and off the Bournemouth train over the last month or so. They are unbeaten in 9, but I had a look into that run of form. They haven't faced a team currently in the top 8 in that run, but 4-1 might be a little tempting here for some. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a concerning time for Chelsea. I know they won in the FA Cup fairly comfortably, progressed to loads and loads of players, but no wins in 4 in the Premier League against opposition that you would expect them to get at least 3 wins. I mean, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich and Crystal Palace. That's not the top echelons of the table. Bournemouth in 9 matches, as you say, they've only lost once. On the 4 on the road wins, they've won their last 4 on the road, not unbeaten in the last 4 on the road as well. Some big matches coming up, though, for Bournemouth. They've got Chelsea away here, Newcastle away, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool in the next 4 matches. So it's a really, really big part of the season for them. So you'll see whether they're going to push on for a European space or they're going to drop down to that sort of mid-table obscurity. Chelsea won 1-0 in the season. The last 5 Bournemouth road matches have all gone over 2.5 goals. I looked at both teams to score here, but minus 205 was the price for both teams to score, which was very, very short. But I do expect goals. I think Bournemouth will come and play with a style. Aurelio will let them go and have a go at Chelsea. I expect Chelsea to bounce back from their recent disappointments. The fact that most of their best players were left on or not involved at the weekend was a good thing for them. They needed a little break in their season because they're a young squad and matches were coming very thick and fast. And I do think here Chelsea will probably get edged to win. But at minus 175, no way in a million years would I be betting them. So I think my best bet here, and it's very, very short, but I do think goals on the cards. Over 3 goals with the Asian handicap with 3 goals a push was the way that I sort of wanted to play it. But it is short. It's minus 139. It was a match that I couldn't really find, unless you delved into the prop markets and tried to sort of look at some shot markets or some goal scorer markets or assist markets, which after being up for 15 hours watching tennis back to back, I just really couldn't be bothered. I think you'll probably find some market, but I just thought got to be goals, and I think Chelsea will be up to back. I expect Chelsea to win this, and I probably think they'll win it probably about 3-1, something like that, 2-1, 3-1 Chelsea. So over 3 goals. I wouldn't be betting it. It's a match that I would swerve it, but if you were looking for a bet with the insurance of a push with 3, I think that's a nice. That would be the play at minus 139.
A sense of more positive lean from you, Jack. It is just a lean on this one, but we are staying on that Bournemouth train with a caveat. You're going to the Asian handicap market.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised at the price. I've looked. I sent it over to you last night, Dan. It was minus 122. It's plus 1 Asian handicap. It's actually now minus 109. So obviously a better price for us. I'm happy still to take it at that, of course. Chelsea are in a little bit of a rut at the moment. No winning 4. They've not won by 2 or more in the last 6 in the league either. So obviously with the bet, a 1-0. So a 1-goal defeat by Bournemouth would still get us a push and a refund. Chelsea, yes, heavily rotated, weren't overly impressive. Took a little while to break that Morecambe side down. And say for listeners not au fait with where Morecambe sit, 87 places below Chelsea in the league. Pyramid.
Thought you were going to say the Lancashire coast then for a minute, but anyway.
Could be. I think Bournemouth, tell you what, impressive result for them in the FA Cup. We talked about the difference between Premier League and Championship. West Brom are one of the better sides in the Championship, and Bournemouth have had 2 strikers injured, serious injuries as well in midweek. So it could have been a real banana skin for them, and they swept them aside 5-1 despite going a goal down. So that'll be a real boost for them. Nigel mentioned the prop market. I haven't checked it myself. Ouattara, who scored a couple for Bournemouth, is likely to get a bit more game time. He loves a shot. So shots on target. So I haven't checked the price. That might be worth a look into. But the reason I've gone Bournemouth, unbeaten in 9 games in all competitions. They've won 6 of those as well. The caveat again to that is there's no Kepa because he's been in goal for them and he's on loan from Chelsea. So bear that in mind. But this bet's only lost in 1 of their 10 league road games. They have been. Liverpool was the only one where it's lost. It's cashed in 7 of those as well. And Chelsea have only scored 15 goals at home, and this won 2 of their 9 Premier League games by 2 or more goals. And this bet's cashed in 5 of their home games as well. So I think that, for me, looks a nice price now, minus 109, but just a lean still.
Yeah, next time you see Sean, Nigel, just say that Jack says West Brom are a good side. Let's see. Interesting to get Sean.
Half an hour of my life I'll lose while they're not just moaning. Did you hear what he said? I mentioned on the dojo today. What he said the other day was so funny. So basically, if you're not watching this, we've got Sean Calvert, who is a very, very good tennis judge who does tennis shows, but he's I wouldn't say he's the most energetic kind of character and the most enthusiastic kind of character. So at the end of the show, I said to him, Sean, I said, can you believe it? I said, there's all these people who watch the show, but only 50% of them don't subscribe. And some of them do subscribe. And he went, yeah, it's probably to do with all that buzzing and yinging, dinging and donging when you subscribe, when you ring the bell. I said, that's not the kind of answer I wanted. I want you to say, why aren't they? He says, yeah, it's probably to do with all the dinging and donging on the buzzing when something gets notified. I went, Sean, what? Come on, mate, you're supposed to be
positivity here.
So if I talk to him about West Brom that are involved in lots of 0-0 draws and no scoring matches, I think it'll be too much for me. I think I'll end up. I'll have to walk away.
Tuesday 2:30, Brentford against Man City. Here we've got Jack's hot dog. Brentford are plus 390, City minus 167. City have won their last 3. But only one win away against teams currently in the top 12 this season. Things still, Jack, maybe not quite right at City. Kyle Walker reportedly wanting a move away. And you're betting against them with Brentford here.
Yeah, it's obviously been a fade for a while. I've not really got involved on the show with it too much. But Nigel's cashed a few bets on Fade and City. I think there's a chance here to have another go at that price. Plus 390. Brentford, I just think they were plus 400 when I first identified it, so there's been a little bit of a shift, but plus 390, I think anything really plus 350 or better is in our favour. It's worth a go. I looked at the recent road trips for City. They went to Villa were plus 220, Palace were plus 370, so a similar price, and Brighton were plus 310. Brentford are better than all those. Certainly Palace and Brighton at home, and on par with Villa. So as we know, generally over the course of the season, they have had a little bit of a downturn. That's obviously the reason why we're getting probably the price we're getting. But I'm willing to take it because if there's one game they're going to get up for, it's Manchester City home after, as we already mentioned at the top of the show, they had a poor performance against Plymouth. The caveat to that, the good news for that is they did rest their 2 key men. Although they did come off the bench, they didn't start with either Mbomo or Visser. So having them back here, refreshed, is good. But let's talk about City, as we have done a lot, really. Yes, 4-1 win in the league, 8-0 win in the FA Cup, but I'm still prepared to fade them. It was a League Two side that they beat at the weekend. It was their cup final, wasn't it, Salford, really? At the end of the day, these League Two sides, League One sides want to go in progress into the FA Cup to get an away day at one of the big sides, having a payday at one of the elite sides. That was done. Now they can concentrate on trying to get promotion out of their league. And City rotated, obviously, most of their side. So although that was a positive result, quite a few, if not all of those players, aren't going to be starting in this one. So the likes of McAtee, who got the hat-trick, whether he's played himself into this Man City lineup now as a result of that, we'll have to wait and see. But as I say, I think generally speaking, it will be back to the league side. Last league game, they beat West Ham 4-1. I think that was a real kind scoreline for them. They weren't as good as that result would suggest on the paper. West Ham scored an own goal to get Man City up and running in that one. They outshot Man City 17 shots to 10, and they missed 2 big chances as well. So that could have been a very different result, and we could have been talking about more woes, and possibly could have saved Lopetegui his job, of course, who got exited shortly after that. Shows you how bad form West Ham are in, and they still really caused Man City lots of problems. As I say, Brentford aren't in a good moment, only 1 win in 7, but I think they'll lift themselves for this one. They've got real goal threat. Only Haaland and Salah have scored more than Mbomo in the league. He's got 13 goals, and Wissa's got 10 as well. So they've got a real double threat up top against this very brittle, still fragile Manchester City defence. Only Saka and Salah have got more assists than Mikhail Damsgaard as well, so they've got the creativity to cause problems as well. At home, we know they're a threat. A reminder that only Liverpool have more home points than Brentford's 22, and no side has scored more than their 27. They could really cause Man City problems, and at plus 390, I'm going to take a chance. That's my hot dog.
Big price about a home win here. Nigel, are we still fading City? I mean, you can get Brentford +1 on the Asian line at around about minus 120. What's your take on this one?
I'd continue to fade Man City. I hope that they put in a big performance and get overrated again, and that's what sort of happened in the last couple of matches. They've had big performances against West Ham and putting 8 past Salford, and now they're going to these kind of trips as minus 167 favourites. I mean, my angle is slightly different though. I think that Brentford, if Brentford were playing the form they showed 2 or 3 weeks ago, then I'd be all over this match. But I just think the fact that he got beat by the Plymouth in the Cup, I know it's a different sort of side, but the performance prior to that was, some of the home performances where they've been excellent at home, and then now they haven't won in 3, only lost their last 3 at home, and suddenly put a little bit of a concern into my mind. I've gone on the goals angle. I've gone over 3.5 goals here at even money. 46 goals in the 10 matches at the G-Tech this season. Only Tottenham Stadium has seen more, 47. No side has scored more goals, as Jack has said there, than Brentford. Both sides have got goal threats, and Haaland seems to be finding his goal scoring boots at the moment in the Premier League. So they've scored in the last 3 matches. City have won. They've scored 14 goals. I know we can't really look into the Salford match, but I do think this is a match where goals are on the menu. I mean, in the reverse fixture, it was 2-1 up at City, and Brentford took less than a minute, didn't they, to score in that match? So I think there's goals here. I'm hoping that Brentford can keep that going. But I'm just a little bit worried about their form coming into this match. I know that they've got the capability to turn it on. They've got a very good manager, but I just worry whether we may see a drop in performances from Brentford in the next half of the season, very similar to what we used to see loads of years ago with Charlton in the Premier League. Do well for the first half, and in the second season. And I just got a feeling that the manager, Thomas Frank, is a manager that I think he may want to move on to bigger and better things to test himself in his career. So I just worry about Brentford in the second half of the season. I know they've been exceptional, but I just think that, the form they're showing at the moment is a concern for me. So I would be betting Brentford at the prices, but I think the best option is 3.5 goals. Before we leave away from that game, I know you play your spread betting, Dan, and you like all that kind of stuff. Did you see the shirt numbers make up in the Man City match?
No, I didn't. Wasn't across it.
Man City, Salford. What do you reckon the shirt numbers made up?
I don't know, because it must be over 100. I don't know.
Well, maybe over 200. The shirt numbers, you add up all the numbers.
Was it over 200?
435.
Was it some 60s?
87 scored a hat-trick. 75 scored. 67 scored. 435. I've never... Well, there's never ever been that. There's not. Ever.
I mean, I was across your dojo talking about this the other week, and it just brings back so many memories, because when squad numbers were first introduced and the spread firms didn't know, I think it was Liverpool at Swindon. And
Mike Marsh.
It was
25.
Like, look at all these squad numbers.
5-0 it was. It was 5.
Yeah,
I remember the game. 5-0 it was. And Mike Marsh scored.
Today.
And it was 25 scored. And everyone couldn't believe the 25. It cost us fortune, number 25.
Yeah.
Now they've got number 87 scoring hat-trick.
Yeah. How'd you price that one up?
Well,
it is remarkable. Anyway, that's plenty good stories on Dojo as usual. Incidentally, Brentford, one of the most profitable over 3.5 sides this season. And that's Nigel's lean. We have got leans as well on arguably the big game in the midweek session here. Nigel, Forest against Liverpool, Tuesday 3 p.m. Forest 4-1, Liverpool minus 155. Forest looking for a first league double over Liverpool since the early 60s. They've won their last 7 top flight games. I mean, he's 4-1. Tempting here? How are we tackling this one? What do we think? Liverpool false favourite? I don't know.
I think it's very tempting. I think Liverpool I know they had that nice win against Accrington, but they didn't play very well against Tottenham, did they? They were very, very lucky against Manchester United.
Yeah.
I highlighted on the last show that the problems with Trent Alexander on his contract and his performances in both of those matches weren't up to the standards we've seen. I know he scored against Accrington, but come on, let's be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
He is a world-class player who's put a goal. He's got a good performance against a League Two side. But I still think. There's a lot of people who say that I'm quite negative towards Liverpool and say they paper in the cracks and that it's a good time to get them and all these kind of cliches. But Forest did a ultimate smash and grab on them last time around, and I just think this is a big price. I mean, Liverpool are minus 155 here, and I think Forest have got this kind of belief. I mean, they've won their last 7. They're banging form, and they've got a very, very, very good record at home to Liverpool. I mean, I know you probably don't. People won't look at statistics and go back a long time, but Liverpool have 1 win in last 14 trips to Nottingham Forest. 1 win. And prior to that win, I think it was last season, prior to that win, 1984 was the last time Liverpool won, and they won 2-0 with goals from Ian Rush and Ronnie Whelan.
Oh,
that was the last time Liverpool won, Ian Rush and Ronnie Whelan. And number 1 in the charts that day was something that I've never done to you, Dan, when I call you up. I just called to say I love you. But anyway.
Do you know what, ladies and gentlemen? He's given it. I've been up 14 hours. I've really had to crack on to get all my research done for this game. But he's still got time to look at number 1 from the mid.
That's in there, mate. That's in there. That's up there. Jack knows my musical knowledge. It's up there. You don't have to worry about that. Number 1. Give me a number 1. Anything. I'll tell you what number 1 was. You tell me any year. Any
all right,
date,
Dave.
All right, Dave. Yeah. So I've gone for. I think the lean here is Nottingham Forest +1 on the Asian handicap. So if Liverpool win by exactly 1, it's a push. I don't think Liverpool are going to win easily here against a very, very good Nottingham Forest defence who haven't conceded in the last 5. This is a very, very strong defence, very good home record. And I also quite like Forest in the draw on a double chance at plus 120. So you can play whichever way you want, but I'm leaning towards Nottingham Forest. Not on the money line, because it wouldn't surprise me to be a draw here, but Nottingham Forest and the draw plus 120, or Nottingham Forest plus 1 with the insurance of a push if Liverpool win by exactly 1 would be my suggested bets.
A lean for Nigel. A lean also for Jack here. You're moving away from the money line and any sort of Asian team, but we're going on the goal line here, Jack.
Yeah, same as kind of thought process of how the game's going to pan out. But I was a bit surprised to see the line able to be taken at under 3 Asian total. Was minus 117 last night. It's now minus 129. So, yeah, I think the general consensus is the same, really, to be fair. But yeah, I think a little stutter from Liverpool in the league, certainly. With that disappointing draw against Manchester United, and then obviously the defeat to Spurs in the cup, where they did go pretty much full strength, wasn't it? They decided they could do that, and it didn't really work out for them. So we've already mentioned, Forest 7 wins in a row in all competitions. The last 5 wins have been to nil. So impressed with them defensively against Wolves. They did give up a couple of chances, but both goalkeeper was superb, and so that defence was brilliant. And Nuno rotated 11, didn't he? All 11 were rotated for the FA Cup game against Luton. Another win to nil, 2-0. And it just seems that whoever he brings in, whatever's happening, it's just working for him so well. They seem so bought into this kind of team spirit, and whatever lineup he puts out, whether there's an injury and a replacement, it just seems to be seamless. So absolutely superb. Only one of their 9 league games has seen 4 or more goals. So this bet under 3 Asian totals cashed in 6 and 2 pushes. And yeah, Liverpool goals galore away from home, really. But I don't see Forest giving them an opportunity to have that kind of wild fixture. And I think Liverpool will be cautious and a bit conscious of just how lethal Forest are on the counter-attack, and will be a little bit more subdued than normal, especially having had their fingers burnt at Anfield in the reverse fixture, which was 1-0 to Forest. So yeah, for me, I think it's going to be a tight and cagey one, and under 3 Asian totals a real player at now minus 129.
Let's move on to Wednesday's games. First up, 2:30 Eastern is Everton versus Aston Villa. We got a couple of leans from the boys here. Everton are plus 230, Villa plus 125. David Moyes, Nigel, back in charge now. Incredible that he's returned to Goodison. I mean, they're around about plus 250, I think, for the drop. When he took over back in March 2002, first time around, they were only above the relegation zone on goal difference. Obviously kept them up. I mean, do you think they'll go down? Is Moyes going to have a good impact in the team? And do you think that they can get something from this Villa game? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are nothing's really going to change from Sean Dyche. I mean, if they didn't think Sean Dyche was going to keep them up and they had to make a managerial change, you would have thought they'd make a change that would change the style and change the way they play. They've pretty much gone like for like, haven't they? It must be. I don't know. I don't understand the appointment. I didn't understand the sacking at the time. Really, there must have seen something gone on behind the scenes there to suggest that. Clearly the new owners aren't keen on him, and Dyson wanted to get Moyes in. But on the betting, I think this is a very, very, very tough one to call. I think this is the toughest match on the card for me. We would expect Everton at home with Moyes back, the crowd to get behind them, and the new manager bounce back. We might see it at West Ham. You could see it at Everton here. It's not factored into the price at all. The last 6 matches in the Premier League, both teams have scored. There's been no in Everton matches. 9 of the last 10 in their matches, both teams have scored no. But on the flip side to that, Villa games have been scoring goals for fun. There are loads of goals in the last 3 road matches. 6 of the last 7, both teams have scored as a yes. Earlier in the season, Villa won 3-2 in a high-scoring match. But everything suggests here that it's going to be quite low-scoring from the Everton perspective. So if Everton had changed their manager for a more flamboyant and gun-ho manager, then you might have seen some kind of bounce back and some kind of change of style. But I just don't see anything can happen. And Everton just can't score goals. They haven't got a striker. Talk about the problems with Arsenal. Everton are exactly the same, or a lot worse position. So really, it's all about the goals market. I couldn't bet on the money line plus 230 or plus 125. It's whether you think there's goals or not, really. I don't think the both teams to score angles around about even money of the pair. And I'd probably be edging towards both teams to score no rather than both teams to score yes, because it's going to be same old Everton, really. And it's up to Villa to I can see Villa probably win it 2-0 and Everton not scoring again. They just don't contribute any goals, don't contribute any chances, and they got nothing to offer. And the new manager's going to be quite happy with that. He's going to try to pick up a point to keep them in the Premier League rather than go and win matches.
You're right. I mean, I don't get the appointment at all. It's like for like, and he's going to make them hard to beat, which is what Dyche did. And Jack, look, you've been cashing on your lean here, and it's the same as Nigel's to reveal it. A lot with Everton, and it's tried and tested, and it's still a fair price, isn't it?
Yeah, really good price, -110. It's been rock solid as well. Last time out, it was under 2.5 goals, or both teams to score no, and the price was pretty much the same, so I could go under 2.5. That's not the case in this one. It's a real difference, so you've got to go with the both teams to score no option for all the reasons. Nigel just reeled off all the stats, absolutely right. I watched Everton against Peterborough in the FA Cup during the week. This is the side in the third tier of English football, Peterborough, the worst defensive record in that level as well. And Everton really struggled against them. They huffed and they puffed. They had pretty much the best side they could put out. Beto was up top. They brought Broha on, the striker who'd been injured for a while. He then got a really serious injury after about 20 minutes. So he looks to be certainly out for this one and much longer than that too. And I just can't see where they're going to be creating the chances really. And Dye's there buzzing around. He's okay, but he just doesn't have that cutting edge that they need. And as I say, they scored with a goal where they broke the offside trap, and they needed a penalty in added on time at the end to win that 2-0. So both teams to score no for me. Absolutely rock solid. Villa, lots of games coming up. 6 games for them between now and February the 1st. They failed to score in 3 of the last 4 Premier League road trips as well. And this ended 0-0 last season. So all points towards both teams to score no.
Yeah, both teams to score no. Everton, very, very profitable. Second most profitable side in the Premier League. Both teams to score no. The most profitable is Manchester United, incidentally. Anyway, Newcastle against Wolves next up. And we've got 4 units on this match. It's a 2-unit play for Nigel. It's a 2-unit play for Jack. Similar, related contingencies to a certain extent here. We'll go with Nigel's play. First of all, I mean, Nigel, Newcastle are absolutely flying. They've won their last 8. This is pretty much the shortest price they've been all season. Similar against Southampton and Leicester, which they won, but they were shocked by Brighton, and West Ham did a number on them as well. So they're not a gimme when they're minus money, or are they? Give us your 2-unit play.
I think this version of Newcastle's and the way they're playing at the moment is right up there with the best teams in the country. Scoring goals for fun. 8 successive wins in all competition. Hungry for goals, playing with a swagger. We said at the beginning of the season that they started off really badly, but had their most ever points tally at that particular time. But they weren't very attractive. Well, they've turned that around now, and they are real force to be reckoned with in the cup competitions and in the Champions League spots. They've got some big matches coming up now, which will cement them into this Champions League and maybe even could push up to second. They've got Wolves at home this week, then they've got Bournemouth at home, and then Southampton away. Their next 3 matches, 9 points there. Then they're right in the shake-up. And if Liverpool start dropping points, I know it's a big if, but this side of the way they're playing like champions. They've got goals in them. They've scored 23 goals in the last 8 matches. At least
all right,
2
Kev
goals.
Keegan, easy.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
I'd love it.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
I'd love it.
I'd absolutely love it. I'd love it if they won. I'd love it. They've got to go. They've got to go. They've got to go.
They've got to cover a -1.5 handicap. Go on now.
They've got to go to Forest. They've got to go to Forest. I love it. Anyway, I would love it. But they scored 23 goals in 8 matches. They've scored at least 2 goals in every single one of those matches. The last 10 matches, they scored 2 goals as well. Wolves, I thought were going to get better defensively. Then they played against Forest and were awful. They were defensively frailties against Tottenham as well in a 2-2 draw. And talking about Newcastle fixtures, Wolves fixtures, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool, next 5. I mean, if teams that like Ipswich start picking up, Wolves could be in serious trouble here. I don't see any reason why that Newcastle won't win this and win this well. Like I said, they've scored 2 goals in at least 10. If you look at Wolves to score 2 goals or more, it's -215. But yet the Newcastle -1.5 on the Asian handicap is -112. So I know I don't think Wolves are probably capable of scoring here, but if they are, they've been involved in some very, very high scoring matches and conceded so many goals, being particularly on the road here, and going to a rampant Newcastle with the best side in their form, the best striker in the country on current form as well, in Isaac, who's -143 incidentally here to score. We usually we were saying the mark hasn't caught up with him when he's -110, minus, plus 110, those kind of prices. He's now minus 143. But Newcastle minus 1.5, I think, is the bet here. It's my 2-unit play at minus 112. I expect them to win fairly comfortably.
Yes, those 8 wins, 7 of them you would have cashed with that minus 1.5. As you say, it seems mad. Newcastle a short price to score to, but the Asian line is very much in your favour. Jack, similar but slightly different here because you expect something from Wolves. This is a 2-unit play as well.
Yeah, I said to you just before we recorded that I had probably about 5 1-unit plays that I couldn't make my mind up on. You always think, need to pick the right one for your official picks. The leans we've talked about a lot, haven't we? Have been very successful across both the soccer shows, and it's trying to just identify the ones you're going to put as official. And I couldn't really identify the 2-unit play, and I've gone with this one because I've made it into plus money. Like the differential on price for a Newcastle win and the differential on price for both teams to score, the traders expect that to happen. Pop them together, and it's plus 128. So I've made that my 2-unit play. I do like to have a little bit of a decent price, good price on the 2-unit plays, and it's been pretty successful over the course of the season. So, yeah, Newcastle win and both teams to score. Yes, at plus 128 now is my 2-unit play. All the reasons why Nigel's outlined Newcastle to win this. I desperately wanted to be able to get Newcastle on a handicap here, but so just switched it around to get that plus money. I think, the main threat for Wolves, of course, is Cunha. He's back from suspension. I faded them last time out on the basis that against Forest, the fact that they didn't have him and were going to lack that cutting edge up top, creativity and goal scoring wise. He's back, rested, of course, as well. And I think that he can break through against this Newcastle side. I expect Newcastle to win this well, but I do think Wolves can get on the score sheet. We saw against Bromley, obviously Nigel's local team, in the FA Cup. Newcastle did concede the opening goal in that one. And yes, they rotated heavily, but their defence wasn't too dissimilar. Trippier was playing, Scher was playing, and Dubravka was in net. So I think that was enough reason to think that there's a possibility that with how good Wolves are going forward, they've shown it, especially with Cunha playing, they can score. Wolves have conceded 22 goals on the road, so you'd expect Newcastle in the form they're in at the minute. Gordon and Murphy out wide are on fire. The midfield trio is looking exceptional, and of course Isaac is absolutely on fire. Rested, expected to be fit to play in this one. So much going forward. As I say, Wolves have only kept 1 clean sheet on the road, but they've only failed to score twice, so I think they can get on the score sheet, but in a heavy win for Newcastle, plus 128 for that to happen.
Yeah, well, we'll take 3-1 for both 2-unit plays to cash. Let's say that, shall we? So Newcastle minus 1.5. For Nigel, minus 110. Jack likes Newcastle to win, both teams to score, yes, plus 128. Quickly, Leicester Palace on this Wednesday game, 2:30. Nigel, what you got for us here? Palace are minus money favourites, first time this season. Can they win away at Leicester? Rattle through your thoughts.
Really, really, really hard. I couldn't trust Palace at minus 106. And I couldn't trust Leicester. I think on the prices, if you look at it, Leicester offer the goal for it. Palace don't offer the goal for it. So if I was really inclined to think I had to just have a wager on the match, I'd probably be taking Leicester at plus 275. I just don't trust Palace. Palace unbeaten in the last 4, but 3 of those were at home. Leicester, just so many goals in their matches. Last 5 goals, like they beat QPR, didn't they? Like 6-2, an awful performance for QPR. And that was their reserve side as well. And this story is a very, very attack-minded manager, and he's got goals in him. Palace are welcoming back a few players now, so they're at full strength to go here. It's a difficult one. Again, it's very similar to the Everton-Aston Villa match, where you've got one side that offer a goal threat and the other side that don't really offer a goal threat, in particular on the road. And I think you've always got to go with the goal threat that the one side offers, because if they do score, then the likelihood is the other team get a kick up the bum and come out a little bit more. So leaning towards over 2.5 goals at minus 139, but probably one of my weakest selections on the weekly card.
Not one that you're going to be betting yourself by the sounds of things. Jack, you're looking at overs as well for this one. As Nigel points out, I mean, Leicester are and have been and are an overs team under Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the weekend proved that. I think that might well give them a little bit of a confidence boost. Most of their forward players there scored goals. Say it was rotated, but I said there's some key players that got on the score sheet as well. I've just added both teams to score into the mix to make it minus 117. So it's a bit of a go-to with these Leicester games at the moment. Scoring goals not really a problem. For Palace, I was a bit surprised to see both teams to score has actually cashed in 7 of their last 9 Premier League games. and the reverse ended 2-2. So I'm going for a similar outcome here, and for the reasons not necessarily been outlined already. But
over
yeah,
two
minus
and a half
117.
Yeah, over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score. Yes, is the play, or is the lean for Jack. Let's get to the big game on the Wednesday, which is Arsenal against Spurs, North London derby, 3 p.m. Eastern here. Arsenal minus 250. Nigel, you've got your one you play. Jack's got a one you play on this, and we have press gang Nigel into same game parlay. We know that he loves doing them, so he's taken a lot of time over the SGP for us this week.
I love him.
Nigel, Arsenal are, I couldn't quite believe this, the shortest price they've been against Spurs since the invincible season of 03-04 at minus 250. But I guess, although Arsenal haven't been playing or getting the results, they've been creating chances, and Spurs still without so many first choice players here. There's a lot to try and pick out for this one for bettors, isn't there? What's your assessment? Because it's a one you play for you.
Well, I think on the back of the weekend and the back of recent matches, these are the two sides that most bettors would want to be fading whoever they played. But unfortunately, on the fixture list, they're playing each other. So it's a very difficult one to try to work out. For Arsenal's point of view, a price of minus 250 on the back of their two last home performances, you wouldn't bet them. I'm not going to use the analogy of the Zogs and Martians coming out. That spaceship has flown. But I just think minus 250 is an extremely low price, because Tottenham are just that kind of side that you never know. I mean, going to Man City and doing the performance, and then they go to non-league Tamworth and draw 0-0 in. I mean, that must have been the biggest 0-0 price history, I would have thought. I mean, given the fact that how many goals that Tottenham score, everybody in the world wanted to bet over the 3.5 goal Asian handicap on that match. There was the biggest move of the season on that match, on the 3.5 goals when the team was going. It went to a 3.75 game, then almost a 3.5-4 goal game. It was a huge move for Tottenham. So a lot of people have got their fingers burnt on Tottenham, not for the first time this season. So the way they play at the moment, the money line is impossible. Arsenal, we know about the striker. Every time we come on this show, we know about the striker. We talk about it. We're talking about it for ages now. Everybody's getting involved in the striker debate. It is what it is. He's gone with Havertz. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get Rashford. I thought that would be a good fit. Whether they can pay his wages or negotiate his wages, that's going to be interesting. But they're missing Salah. Odegaard took a knock. You now got Havertz completely out of form. Lost all confidence for some reason. Jesus is out. Partey, obviously, he's got alleged problems off the pitch as well. I don't know. I just think that this is a very tough match for Arsenal, and minus 250 is a price that I wouldn't want to touch. Saying that, I wouldn't bet Tottenham at $6. I want to swim against the tide here. Going back through history, this is a match that just produces goals. There's always goals in these two sides. But these two current versions, you've got a team that just are struggling in front of goal, creating chances and not scoring. The last three Arsenal matches have all gone under 2.5 goals. Brighton 1-1, Newcastle 2-0. You got the 1-1 with Man United yesterday. No conversion rate. Tottenham on the back of a 0-0 draw against the non-league side. Big match for both sides. I think the goal line is too high. 3.5 is the line that Bet Rivers are pitching. Would you bet over 3.5 in an Arsenal match currently with all those players out? Saka, Odegaard, Havertz out of form, Jesus? I wouldn't. And so I've gone for under 3 goals on the Asian handicap, which is plus 108 with a push if it's exactly 3. Arsenal have a brilliant record here. They haven't lost this fixture since 2010. Ask me what number 1 was. I'll tell you what number. That's it on my brain. Ask me what number 1 was.
What year? 2010.
It was November 2010.
2010. November 2010. Don't know. Go on.
Rihanna was number 1 with Only Girl in the World. She took the top number 1 spot from Cheryl Cole, and the week later JLS had it, but only had it for 2 weeks as X Factor done it, and then it was Black Eyed Peas and Matt Carter had the Christmas number 1. See, it's all up there. It's all up there. The memory's all up there. But for the bet, I'm going to go for under 3 goals plus 108 on the Asian handicap with a push with 3 goals.
Nigel, just rat us off your same game parlay here as well while we're at it. We get Jack's 1 unit play in a second. Same game parlay, you've got 3 elements, which are...
Yeah. I'm going to go for under 3.5 goals for the reasons I've just told you there. I'm going to go for Arsenal to win the match because I think they will probably just edge it, but 1, maybe 2-0. And I go for Kulusevski to have a shot on target. He's had a shot on target. No, not a shot on target, just have a shot.
Just a shot.
He's had a shot in 9 of his last matches. In the last 9 matches, that bet would have cashed. Wow. So basically, it's a nice way of getting a better price for Arsenal to win the match and a better price for getting under 3.5 goals. And it comes in at plus 220, I believe it is. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah,
was
plus,
that
yeah,
Dan?
plus
Yeah, plus
220.
220.
Yeah, I'm pleased that Nigel's dug into those shots stats, Jack. You
Yes.
take a leaf out of his book for that.
Oh,
Let's.
mate, I will. I learn every day. Every day.
Let's get your one you play on this one.
I thought he was going to put it. It was going to be this week's number one as far to end that parlay, but no, he's not. It's only about the history, not about the future as far as the number ones are concerned.
Don't give me your snake eyes by the Bet Rivers Weekly Live team.
Which version?
Got the most
Which
downloads.
version?
The country
Which
one.
version?
The country version. The country version. Don't give me
What
no
tune it
snake
is.
eyes because we win. That's the George Formby
George
version.
Formby
That's
version.
the George Formby.
I thought we left Morecambe behind. Anyway, was it Morecambe? I can't remember. Jack,
I don't know.
come on, one you.
Right, okay, enough leaning on the lamppost. Let's get on with this one. And, God, we're so on trend, aren't we, eh?
Yeah, no one knows what we're talking about.
We have fun at least. But, yeah, I think this is a tight one as well. And that's why I sent it over to you last night. I went Spurs on a plus 1.5 Asian handicap. I thought that was quite a big handicap given what we've now been talking about. That price has now gone to a point where I don't want to back it. So I've gone plus 1.25. So, yeah, it's a minus 109. That's where I'm going with that handicap. So I think it's tight. So you've got probably the best defence in the league with Arsenal, but their attack just can't fire at the moment. Of course, with the injury, Saka's a massive miss. Jesus now out as well. And it is the Chelsea version of Havertz that we're seeing at the minute, and he looks absolutely shot to bits. The photographs of him and the images yesterday showed him in all kinds of trouble. So, how does he go to this? And I'm sure the Spurs fans will give him an easy time at the Emirates this week. But you look at the reverse, that was only 1-0 as well. It's 2-2 last season in this one, so it works as far as the plus handicap is concerned. Of course, both in FA Cup action over the weekend. Both went to extra time. One obviously very surprisingly so, the other maybe not so much so. Spurs were more rotated to start with, certainly. So you'd say that at least their mainline players didn't have as much action as the Arsenal players have. But it's cashed in the last 3 meetings, this particular bet. 3 of the last 5 here as well at the Emirates. And what really surprised me was really, like we've talked about Spurs and their inconsistencies all season, how poor they've been in lots of areas. But when you look at their away form, this bet's actually cashing all of their away league games and each of the last 5 Arsenal home games across all competitions as well. So that's highlighting how they're struggling to put teams to bed with their striking problems. The games they've played in that period of time, a couple of trickier ones, Man United, Newcastle, but Ipswich, Palace and Everton as well. So that points to me that this looks like a real good play. Plus 1.25 now on the Asian handicap at minus 109.
109. That's Spurs away trip to Arsenal. I was just looking at the price for Spurs 0-0 at the weekend. Generally about 66 on the exchange. You probably get 100 to 1. You might be right, Nigel. I mean, it's just phenomenal price.
And the other thing
for a 0-0.
we didn't touch on there, this is an over 3.5 game where the 2 strikers possibly leading the lines are Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. And if 3.5 goals is the line, I mean, come on.
Might be over and under for the rest of the season with them. Right now, then, Thursday leans. We've got to be quick here because we are running out of time. We've got 2 games on Thursday that we need the boys' thoughts on. No official plays, but leans. And look, I said this on the Euro show, at the top of the Euro show last week. Just bet the leans. Bet the boys' leans. That's what I do because they're almost as good as the plays, unless obviously, as Nigel pointed out with one of them earlier on, look, he probably won't bet it. But the vast majority of these boys have done the research, and I would suggest that they're knocking on the door of official play. So Ipswich, Brighton and Manchester United, Southampton. Jack, let's get your thoughts first. Ipswich, Brighton here. Thursday, 2:30. Are we trusting Brighton at minus money? They've been minus money 7 times this season, home and away. Haven't won any of them. We betting them in Ipswich or not? Come on. Are you betting Ipswich?
No, I'm not. No, only trust Brighton at minus money when they're in Norfolk, not in Suffolk. So East Anglia it is, but they haven't got far. I don't know if they stayed over, but no, I've gone over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score. Yes, in this one at minus 127 as a lean. I think it's been a good couple of weeks for Ipswich. Progress in the FA Cup, but a couple of decent performances, beating Chelsea, an unlucky draw at Fulham, and that came after a resolute performance we already mentioned at Arsenal. So really rotated in the cup against Bristol Rovers, and it was interesting to see Calvin Phillips scored for Ipswich in that one. You think what a fall from grace he's had, that he's now in a rotated side against League One opposition. That's his kind of only chance of getting a game at the moment. But anyway, yeah, Brighton struggled to win unless they're playing Norwich. No win in 8 league games. So easy win for them at the weekend, which should give them a bit of a confidence boost. But they don't tend to get beat too often, only 2 defeats in that period of time. But both teams' scores landed in 8 of their last 9 league road games. And this bet's cashed in 5 of 6 of those. So interested in attack. Rutter was back amongst the goals. João Pedro said he's going to be fit for this one as well. And I think a big boost for them is having Danny Welbeck back. So, and Solly March, who's been out for such a long time. So some key personnel there. So yeah, I'm fancying goals.
Over 2.5, both teams score, yes, -127. Nigel, what you got in this one? We on the Ipswich train, as we were against Fulham. Unlucky not to cash a big price winner, but we sort of suggested playing the handicap as well when they played away. What about this time?
Very close to being my hot dog again at +285 on the money line here to beat Brighton. I think that it was a big price. I've been impressed with him in the last few weeks. I think they're a good manager, and I've said on this show a lot of shrewdies expect them to stay up this season, probably to overtake Wolves and overtake Everton.
You're coming on now. Mid-January, you're putting your hand up that you fancy
as well as Shrewdies. There's also Dan who thinks they're stout as well. Ipswich +1/2.
More like Shreddies.
Ipswich +1/2 would be my bet here, -117. As you said, my minus money favourites Brighton cannot be trusted, and they have failed to beat the other 2 promoted sides when they're a heavier favourite. That was Southampton and Leicester, and now they're up against the best of the promoted sides. So I'm going to go for Ipswich +1/2, -117. Only 1 win in 9 for Brighton against Norwich, and an injury hit Norwich, so not to look into that. So Ipswich to me +1/2 at -117, get the draw as well.
And Nigel, are Manchester United back 3 p.m. on Thursday Eastern time? They're the shortest price they've been to win a Premier League game this season. They face Southampton without a win since Juric took over in the league, at least, but they did win in the cup. Thoughts on this?
I don't think they're back just yet, but they're showing signs of very, very good improvement. He's got an agenda. He knows the team he wants now. He's going to build a team around certain players. Bruno Fernandes seems to be an integral part of that side. Love him or hate him, he's starting to play a little bit better. He's got into my fantasy team this week, so just imagine him to have a bad day and he'll be sent off. The captain, that's my luck. I think if you look at United, though, their last few, Liverpool draw, Arsenal draw, win at City, they've got it in them, but it's the home form when they've lost at Forest. They've lost to Newcastle very, very heavily, lost to Bournemouth very, very heavily. They've got to do something in front of the Old Trafford fans to get them on side. I'm expecting a big performance, but every time we expect a big performance from Manchester United, they fail to deliver. They're very heavy favourites, -345. But I'll tell you the player I've been quite impressed with. The handicap here, the agent handicap was -1.75. That is a lot to cover. You've got to get Man United to win by 3 goals for you to cover a full unit. That's why I can't play it. Southampton, no wins. We know they're dreadful. The performance against Brentford. I think you've got to look at props. And I've been quite impressed since he's come back with Xerxes. I think he looks a decent player. I thought he played well against Arsenal. I think he'd probably lead the Man United attack here, and at +155 to score at any time. I thought Xerxes could be the bet there. He's obviously got faith in him. He's going to take him. He's obviously leaving Rashford, and Højlund is big question marks about him. But I think Xerxes at +155 to score any time would be an angle of attack. But I expect Man United to win it. But from a betting prospect, -1.75 is far, far too short.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Jack, what do you think? Last game of the midweek slate.
Yeah, I think this is a massive game for Man United. We've seen them lift themselves against Liverpool and Arsenal. Now this is the one that they were expected to go and win, and people have got a bit more positivity about them. So if they can go and put a really good performance in here, then you would say massive shoots for recovery, and they can kick on. But we'll have to wait and see. And like Nigel, I wanted, can I get Man United on side here against this woeful Southampton side? Not -1.75 either. So I've gone on the under 3 Asian total, which say I think Man United will win, but I'm not sure they'll be running away with it. So like a 2-0 win, something like that wouldn't surprise me. And under 3 Asian total is +100. So for this bet to lose, of course, we need 4 goals. But yeah, they're playing better, but they're not really scoring loads of goals. They look a little bit better defensively as well. Now he's getting his shape and systems into place. That bet in question has only lost in 2 of United's 10 home league games. 5 wins and a push in the last 6 league road trips for the Southampton. And they've been to Villa, Fulham, Brighton and Manchester City. So I think this has got a real good chance at a decent price as well, +100.
Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone updated via our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We'll be back later this week on Thursday for more picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays and number ones probably. Live show, don't forget, 11 a.m.
Tune in, pop pickers. Tune in, pop pickers.
Follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. From all of us, for now, though, it is goodbye.